Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for total lunar eclipse in Virgo. And this one is happening on the 15th of March. And this is felt for quite some time already because eclipses are felt 4 to 6 weeks before and 4 to 6 weeks after their exact date. And this one is very intense. It's total eclipse. It's south node eclipse, which means that there is something that we have to let go of. There is some pattern, some behavior, some learned behavior, some trauma, some shame, some humiliation, something that is not serving us anymore, some routine or habit, some way of doing things that we are letting go. And it's big, it's not trivial or superficial, it's very deep and profound, and it's making us go very deep within ourselves because eclipses have that kind of scorpionic energy, and it's full moon eclipse, so it's very emotional, and it's emotionally discharging and recharging, and it's a big karmic release. Eclipses are game changers. Eclipses bring something into our life and they take something away. Eclipses remind us that nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed, and they are life-changing events. They bring life-changing communication, conversations, connections, disconnections, circumstances. These are things that we cannot avoid, that we cannot escape, that we just have to accept and observe, because whatever happens during eclipses is unavoidable. It's necessary and it's meant to be. It's fated and it's destined to happen. And there is wisdom that comes to us through eclipses. Big wisdom if we are willing to accept and to transform, to admit some things to ourselves without fighting and struggling to prove something to others. Eclipses are always times when our ego can be hurt. And I spoke about similar themes in previous video when there was new moon in Pisces, and Pisces is an opposite sign from Virgo. So this full moon lunar eclipse is opposing the sun and also Saturn in Pisces. So chaos and order. You know, we are torn apart between doing and being, between our to-do lists and our right to be. And we will have to make some changes. Life will give us those changes. Life is always showing us what's going on. And this can be a lot about, getting things done. This is Virgo, and we may feel a bit hysterical about getting things done. So we feel successful, we feel useful, we feel purposeful when we get certain things done in order or in the way we imagined them to be. But, getting things done is not always what is necessary for us to do. Sometimes we just have to rest and relax and allow ourselves to make mistakes and allow others to make mistakes without judging and criticizing, but also allowing ourselves to accept criticism, because when we don't accept criticism, this is when we feel attacked, and this is when we have the need to defend ourselves, and this is when we can become overly defensive and overly protective, and this creates conflicts. This eclipse is here to give us an opportunity for self-healing, for deep self-healing, for self-acknowledging, for admitting things to ourselves, especially things that we've been trying to hide, things that we are ashamed of and afraid of, things that we find humiliating. This eclipse is really showing us, it's teaching us to be humble. And there is a lot of escapism involved too, because Pisces is about escapism and Virgo is about doing, finishing tasks, getting things done, as I said, overworking, overloading ourselves with many tasks and duties and responsibilities, having a need to feel useful, having a need to feel purposeful, having a need to be needed. And we may have to learn many things now about it. And there is a mortal and immortal energy, you know, Virgo and Pisces, earthly and ethereal, earth and water, and earth carries water, and we can really go through big healing through elements of earth and water now. And this is something that I always mention, especially when we have eclipses, and especially when we have this kind of opposition like now between Virgo and Pisces. Imagine what would we achieve with ourselves if we would put the same amount of time, energy, devotion, commitment, discipline, maturity, willingness. If we applied that same amount of all of those things, of strength and desire to gain spiritual wealth instead of material wealth. What are our priorities? What are we running after? You know, imagine if at least 10% of the whole world would invest more time and energy into gaining spiritual wealth than into gaining material wealth. Or it doesn't even have to be the same amount. It can be half, half of that amount that we spend on gaining material wealth and material stability and security. What about our inner stability and security? What about our spiritual connection? What about our relationship with our soul? Because we may be faced with many soulless expressions from others and also from ourselves. We may be faced with our own soulless aspects. And we are reminded what it means to be a human being. What is the difference between being human and being a machine? Are we just machines or are we human beings? And we may see, a lot of us, that we are somehow pulled into this mechanism where we are taught how to be those machines instead of how to be human beings. Because there is always something to be done. There is always something that we have to do, and there is always something to feel guilty about. There is always something to feel ashamed of. And we are now really learning that these things can be changed. You know, we can transform the way we live this life. Habits and routines are big mechanisms, but they also help us to build the character. So our habits and routines, they become our character. So it's very important, what are our everyday habits and routines? What is our lifestyle like? What are our mental habits and routines? And what are our emotional habits and routines? Do we really have any awareness of those routines, or are we just always setting ourselves up for external work? And, you know, Virgo, the Virgin, is the archetype of Virgin is about purity. It's about having pure thoughts, pure mind, pure heart, pure body, always working in the direction of self-development and self-betterment. It's about the progress that we can witness, that we can see, that we can touch. It's earthly energy. And it's in opposition with Pisces, with ethereal, with water, but this is ocean water. And it's about embodying that intuitive, spiritual, otherworldly energy and expressing it into the world, embodying it, applying it in real life. And we are asked to see what would we do in this life if we didn't have to do it for money. What would we do in the world? What would be our service? What if everything fails? What would we still want to do? What would we still want to be involved with? What would still be our passion? And what would I do in the world without money? That's also a big question. If we can really feel the question and go deep and imagine that kind of world and see what would we do? How would we behave differently? What would be our priorities then if we didn't have to take care about that kind of thing? But of course we do have, but this is just an exercise, a mental workout that helps us connect some dots. And the last time this same series of eclipses was active was between March 2006 and February 2008. And also between March of 2015 and February of 2017. And we can all think back to those periods of times and see what big changes we've been going through, what big transformations we've been experiencing. And the lessons that we skipped back then may be coming back now to learn them, or lessons that we did learn, we are now challenged to see how we apply those lessons in our life. And this is the first eclipse in Virgo in this series of eclipses that began in September of 2024. There was eclipse in Pisces on the 18th of September 2024. And now the second one that comes that is deeply connected to that eclipse is this one that is happening in Virgo on the 15th of March. But eclipses will be bringing us news and messages in the next 6 months. Then we have again the new cycle. And this is really going to show us a lot about our health, but not only our physical health, but how healthy we are. How healthy do we think? How healthy do we connect with each other? How healthy do we feel things? Do we have healthy emotions? What is healthy emotion? What is a healthy way to deal with our emotions? What is healthy way to think? Because we have the power to change the way we think. We shouldn't be in the service of our thoughts, but our thoughts should be in service of our conscious awareness. And this time, this Virgo is really teaching us how to do that. And we are tested in a big way to make sure that we are doing something each day that we truly enjoy in a healthy way. You know, like, do we have something that we do every day that makes us feel alive, that makes us feel healthy, that makes us feel in touch with the soul and the spirit, in touch with earth and the body? Because we have both. We have the soul and the body, and we cannot deny either of those. But sometimes we give more priority to our body because we identify with our body, but we still miss our body awareness. We have no idea what processes this body is going through. We have no control over those processes, and we just take things for granted. So this eclipse may be teaching a lot of us how to be more in tune with our bodies, with planet Earth, with everything around us that we touch, that we experience as a matter. And, you know, Pisces can be seen as an ocean, and Virgo can be seen as the sand, the grains of the sand. And we have to work in both areas to feel like the sand and to feel like an ocean, and to feel the unity, between the pieces and the whole, to feel the unity between individual self and the whole of humanity. Because this full moon lunar eclipse can really shake us, can really make us question our whole life, question our whole existence, question everything that we've done until now and everything that we're doing. We are questioning our philosophy of life. We are questioning our existence. We are questioning the meaning of all that we experience, and it can be very life-changing, because this is something that has the power to completely turn everything upside down. And this is what eclipses do. You know, they eclipse something out, they eclipse something in, so that we can experience the eclipse within. And if we let the same old program run through our organism, we are going to experience rejection, suffering, trauma responses, repetitions of things that we don't want. And full moons bring things to light. They bring things to to a fruition, but they also bring culminations and endings, completions. Things may feel like they are falling apart, but they are actually coming together. Virgo and Pisces. Virgo can disintegrate things, like, you know, make things fall apart. And Pisces will show us the wholeness of it. But we are experiencing the wholeness through pieces, and pieces through wholeness. And it's a lot about gaining that sense of peace within ourselves. And we are going to see, are we only just really puppets of our past experiences? Are we letting that same old program run over and over, same old, without any intervention, without any awareness, with just, you know, pure mechanical activity and action? And we are reminded that we usually see things in a way that are colored through our past experiences. And we are about to see something that we are uncomfortable with, something that makes us feel uncomfortable, something that makes us feel ashamed, something that makes us feel guilty, something that makes us feel less than, something that makes us feel miserable in some way. We are facing our own, not miserable side of us, but that aspect of us that feels miserable. And we are asked to build strength from that point onwards. And we are, you know, reminded that we can effectively deal with life challenges. And there is an open gateway now to bring the spirit into our daily life. We are invited to bring that spiritual side of life into our everyday life, into those seemingly trivial and repetitive actions. But if we put that spirit in those everyday repetitive actions, then things change. Then everything becomes an adventure. And this full moon is about to show us something that we are not happy with, or something that we just have to learn to process without doing anything special, just being there with it, dancing with it, communicating with it, singing with it. And there is, you know, Virgo part in us seeks for that kind of obsessive compulsive order, and Pisces is about experiencing divine order in our being and in our life. And they may feel this chaos and order, but they are not really in opposition, they are not in conflict. Chaos and order need each other. We are about to experience the order through experiencing chaos. And we may feel like we are going through birth canal, like we are about to give birth to ourselves. this is something that will be an ongoing theme, because we have another eclipse in 2 weeks, but exactly on the 29th of March. And this one will be the last in the series of eclipses that has been happening the last 2 years in signs of Aries and Libra. And we really may feel like we are losing touch with ourselves, with who we are, but this is good, because some big part of our personality has to die. We have to let it go. We have to allow it to completely be revealed and transformed. And death is just a transformation. Death, we are learning much more about death, and how death is also a very natural part of life. And it's not what we think it is, that's for sure. And many of us will have deep insights about it. And this has a huge power to set us free from many fears that we are going through on our daily basis. And we are reminded now that we shouldn't get lost in trying to be perfect. Like perfect partner, perfect employer, perfect parent, perfect child, perfect student, perfect teacher, perfect whatever. Don't get lost in trying to be that. But let's see that we are all here to learn and to help each other learn. And as I said in previous video, let's not focus so much on searching and exposing those mistakes in others. You know, what if we can do the opposite? What if we can expose the qualities and virtues of others? What if we can remind others of their qualities? Don't you think that they will then be inspired to be better? You know, when you expose qualities of others, they become more aware of them. So this lunar eclipse in Virgo is teaching us to be more friendly with life, to be more friendly with ourselves and with everything that hurts us, to be more friendly with our past, to be more friendly with those experiences that hurt us. Can we be more friendly with those things? And you know, some unconscious desires can really trap us and hold us imprisoned. And these unconscious desires will be brought to light through our conversations, through our past experiences, through past relationships. We have Virgo retrograde. Virgo is retrograde in Aries until the 27th of March. Then it retrogrades back into Pisces. And it will be retrograde until the 12th of April. And Mercury is also starting its retrograde phase on the 14th of March. But these retrogrades are perfectly aligned with this lunar eclipse. Mercury is the ruler of this lunar eclipse in Virgo, and it will be retrograde. And this is South Node eclipse, which means South Node represents the tail of the dragon. So this is definitely something that is hugely related to our past relationships, past experiences, past traumas, identity wounds from the past, wounds that make us feel, as I said, ashamed, afraid, humiliated, less than worthy. So it will be tough. It can be emotionally and physically hard too. But whenever we are challenged with those kinds of experiences, this is an opportunity to not to skip, but to finally experience that we are always skipping, that what we are always trying to somehow jump over, to escape it, to find the shortcut, you know, and we think like we did something great if we avoided something. But no, this lunar eclipse wants us to experience the heaviness. It wants us to experience the discomfort. It wants us to feel uneasy and to see how we deal with that, how we deal with that discomfort, how we deal with heaviness. Can we get us out of that? Can we just withhold it, withstand it? This is about being endurable, being persistent, being efficient, but also allowing ourselves to fall apart if we have to. Virgo, falling apart. Pisces, coming back together into the union. So we maybe have to fall apart in order to come back into union with ourselves in a healthy way. And Pisces archetype is the master of escapism. Master of escapism. So we may be faced with our inner master of escapism. But we have to turn on other inner masters that we have, and we may be discovering some masters that we were completely unaware of, and we may be surprised in a very positive way. This lunar eclipse is making a very friendly and supportive trine with Uranus in Taurus. So we may be shaken up. Our stability, our stable ground is shaken up in a very good way. This is beneficial. This is bringing us a very strong wake-up call. Actually, it won't be call. We are waking up in some areas where we've been deeply asleep. Something that we've been completely blind about, completely unaware of. It's coming and it's right here in our face, and we cannot unsee it. We cannot find any excuses for it. We may feel like we are pushed in the corner and we have nowhere to go, nowhere to look. This is it. This is it. We have to experience it, to face it, and to learn how to relax. Maybe if we could just relax in all of that chaos, maybe if we can just breathe, if we can just relax despite everything, despite all the agony, all the paranoia, all the anxiety, just surrender. And we are actually understanding that through surrender, we are doing the greatest work. Through doing nothing, we are doing the greatest work. If we can learn to just relax, this will be the greatest work that we can do now. And we may be trying too hard, like putting too much effort. Idealistic Pisces and perfectionist Virgo. And we may just want to be perfect. We don't want others to see our mistakes. But this eclipse is exactly doing that. It's exposing us. We may feel like we are naked in front of the whole world, like we are transparent. Everyone knows everything about us and we cannot hide. And how do we feel in those moments? Can we cope with that? Can we handle that kind of discomfort? Can we handle that kind of whatever we call it? But it's not. Humiliation is actually very good. It's a portal towards self-esteem, self-acknowledgement, self-truth. And we may set ourselves some very impossible goals. As I said, ideals, perfections, impossible goals, trying too hard. Life will, put us obstacles, because we just have to, maybe we may have to crawl and just relax. Just let it go. And by letting go, we are doing the work. This is Virgo, Pisces archetype, and Saturn is in Pisces, making an opposition with this full moon. So, self-discipline, being responsible for all that we are going through. despite that desperate need to be held, to be taken care of, to be lulled into some comfort zone, this is definitely out of our comfort zone. It's definitely something that we can handle, but that we maybe think that we cannot handle, but we can. And this trine with Uranus is coming in the right moment, just when we think that's it, like things are falling apart. And then comes Uranus in Taurus and makes this trine and pulls us up. It brings sudden resolution, sudden stability, unexpected surprises that put us back on the track. And this is what eclipses also do. Eclipses have the task to put us back on the track, especially if we've been making some wrong turns, if we've been misled. This eclipse is now just like taking us from here and puts us here, and it can drop us and we may feel like we are falling. And again, just to say, not to forget that during eclipses we may experience a lot of moments when things are breaking. You know, like the glass is breaking, mirrors are breaking, all kinds of items are breaking, the glass, the cup, the plate. Things are breaking, and it's very good if they are breaking now, because whatever is broken during eclipses on the outside is a reflection of something that is exploding on the inside. And it's very good to see it happening externally, to have things to break, to see them break without breaking on the inside. And we may hear the sound of breaking too. We don't have to witness it, we just can hear it. The sound is very important too. Things that we are hearing, sounds that we are hearing, they are very strong symbols and messengers that deliver something very special if we can listen. And we are about to see how much it takes to release our resistance. We may see how resistant we are, how we reject things. We reject reality. So we are faced with our level of resistance. And this is a storm warning. It's stormy weather. And you know, this is like the warning to evacuate from our own prison. As I said in the previous video, we first have to acknowledge that we are in the prison, and then we can work on getting out of that prison. And now this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is a stormy warning to evacuate. And we may hear the sound like, get out of there. You know, just get out of there, run. But not run away from the discomfort, but run away from that comfort zone. Because comfort zone is not comfort. It's a trap. It's a trap that keeps us in those repetitive mechanical patterns. And there is a cosmic assistance now. We get cosmic assistance. We get assistance from our higher selves. We get an assistance from our spirit. And we may hear that sound too. The call of the cosmic assistance for those things that we couldn't or wouldn't do ourselves. And we are actually happy that the old dust is gone. The old dust is being removed. And what we thought we wanted and needed has changed. And we are grateful for a cosmic clearing out of that. It's actually much easier to experience these things now than we think. And once we accept them without trying to manipulate these situations, we are going to see how easy it is actually. It's hard only as long as we reject and struggle. The moment we allow ourselves to relax in that chaos, it becomes easy. So it's easy and hard at the same time, and if we don't feel like doing something, if we don't feel like being somewhere, this is a time when we can have a very good excuse without having an excuse. And this is just expressing that we don't want to. Just, I don't want to. We don't have to find excuses. We can just say, I don't want to. Not, I cannot because of this or that, or, trying to justify ourselves to ourselves and to others. No, this is really time to say just, I don't want to, and to feel fine, not to feel guilty about it. So these are big changes, and this Virgo archetype now is really helping us clear out the dust and excuses so that we can see the light. And the challenge is now to experience the synergy instead of confrontation. And Pisces and Virgo, they really need each other. And this trine with Uranus from the side of Virgo, this is strong earth element. It's giving us something we couldn't see coming that is helping us feel our whole selves and feel things that we are touching in a much more conscious way. Not just walking through this life like everything is here for us. Not just walking through life and being occupied with our tasks, but experiencing life. We have to experience life. Experience this water, experience the river, experience the tree, experience the colors, experience the sky, experience the sun, experience the moon. Not just walk and never see those things. There is always something powerful happening, and everything is constantly communicating with us. But we don't see, because we close ourselves thanks to our thoughts, and we are moving through this life only thinking about our personal issues or personal pleasures. We never really communicate with life, but life communicates with us all the time. And this is a time to become more communicative with life, because this kind of relationship is what we are all missing. And this is why the world is going crazy. The world is insane. Everyone is mad. And this madness needs to be witnessed and accepted and transformed. So we are experiencing life in all of its madness and in all of its beauty and all of its terror, just as we are experiencing ourselves. We carry our own beauty, our own terror, our own madness, and we can get lost in fantasies. Pisces, Virgo, we can get lost in fantasies, and this can really pull us back into the past and push us into some kinds of addictions to escape worldly reality. But this eclipse won't allow us to do that. It will bring something that won't allow us to come back into the same old. No matter what we personally want and desire, this eclipse will show us that something bigger is there, and we cannot avoid what is meant for us. This is what eclipses are about, to teach us to surrender, to let go, to be more humble, and to trust the messages that we receive from life. And this eclipse allows us the space to do nothing, so we can open up to guidance on what to do, and to learn that, you know, everyone is human. Even the enlightened ones have emotional upsets and have to deal with anger, fear, resentments and sadness. And no one is perfect. You know, no matter how strong someone looks, or what someone is preaching or talking about, we are all experiencing heavy things in life that we cannot escape, and we shouldn't escape these things. But we shouldn't allow ourselves to repeat those uncomfortable things. We shouldn't allow ourselves to fall into unnecessary suffering, but to be aware of the suffering, and to be aware that this is also communication with life. Life also communicates with us through suffering, and we are now asked to heal. Virgo and Pisces, healing, cleansing, detoxing, purging, you know, getting things done so that we can feel in peace with life, even if everything seems chaotic. You know, learning through chaos, gaining peace through chaos. You know, everything is in relationship with everything else. And this is a quest to experience wholeness. But we may be feeling under a lot of stress because we may have a need to fix things, to correct things, to make them right, to make them perfect, to make things work. You know, not making mistakes or making mistakes, feeling guilty, feeling ashamed of something, manipulations, you know, taking too much on ourselves, taking responsibility of others, being taken advantage of, letting others do our job. All these things will be amplified now. And you know, a lot of us can experience neurotic atmosphere, but let's not be afraid of it. This is, you know, ability to really feel these things without trying to remove them from ourselves. This is a time for integration, for wholeness, for cooperation with life. As I said, for being in that state of being a friend with all of that discomfort, with suffering, with sadness, with sickness, with illness, you know, being friend with those things, and being able to witness self-criticism and to accept criticism from others. And we can experience withdrawal of ourselves or others. We may feel hypersensitive. This is time when we may feel confused and indecisive, and when we may be very impractical, with coming up with impractical ideas, because we are shown where we are being the impractical and self-deceptive. You know, this is a time when we may be faced with overindulgence too, and habitual hedonistic routines. Through compassion, through sadness, through grief, through experience of loss too maybe. But we may not have to experience it really, but within ourselves, going through something that is coming from the past so that it can be resolved, so that it can be let go of, finally. Retrograde Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is really allowing us to open up about our past, to talk about it, to express it, to express non-verbal things verbally. And Venus retrograde there too. So there is a lot of healing through relationships, through through experiencing the beauty of things that we feel uncomfortable about. You know, we are able to recognize beauty in those places and experiences that are uncomfortable. We can recognize the quality and value of things that we want to escape. This is what Venus retrograde is about. It's about really loving the experience of life, no matter how hard it can be. Truly being in love with experience of life. And we may be strongly detail-oriented, but if we are so much focused on details, we may miss to see the bigger picture. But if we are aware that there is the bigger picture and that the detail can show us also the part of that big picture, then we can see that I am that part that creates the bigger picture too, that creates the whole, and I am actually not part, I am whole on my own. And everyone carries the wholeness within themselves, because this is a fractal universe, and being human being is about being whole, not being partial. You know, being whole in everything, and being whole means to accept all that there is, including death, loss, suffering, grief, traumas, resistance, rejections, abandonments, all these things that we have been taught that are wrong. There is something wrong with that, you know, like not being able to cope with mistakes. But this is a time to accept our mistakes and to see their quality, to understand the quality and the value of mistakes and how precious they are actually. This is integration without getting lost in the forest or swept out to sea. And it's time to sacrifice, as I said in previous video, to sacrifice something in order to gain something. But Virgo demands hard work. And we have to engage, we have to put an effort to do the actual work. But as I said, doing the actual work, the biggest work now is to learn to relax and to accept the chaos and to feel transparent and naked in front of others without trying to justify, without trying to defend, but just raw acceptance, raw sincerity, completely. Just admitting ourselves to ourselves. And, you know, we are going to see where we need to accept something in life and where do we need to let go of something. Where do we need to say yes to something and where do we need to release something. And, you know, there is something we need to remove. What do I need to remove? It's the energy of the awakener. We are meeting our own awakener, and we have this awakener within ourselves. We carry that awakener in our souls, and we have to keep waking up ourselves all the time, in every moment, without skipping steps. And we are asked, what are we devoted to, for good or for worse? And what can I release now? This is really time for understanding the small things matter and that tiny tasks are where power lies. And we are all asked to do those tiny tasks with ourselves. Self-work, tiny tasks that can be just to observe things around us and to communicate with them without just walking through life completely blinded by our personal worries, personal issues, personal desires, but trying to step away from that just a little bit and feel the water, feel the sound, feel the sun, feel the rain, feel the body, feel all the subtle little details that are constantly speaking through us, to us, through us. And we will have the cosmic assistance, as I said. And this is really beautiful time for just lying down and allowing ourselves to fall apart if we have to. But we won't fall apart. We will come back into the wholeness. Disassemblance and assemblance. Falling apart and coming back into wholeness. And I wish you all a very life-changing total lunar eclipse in Virgo, and an ability to be brutally honest with ourselves without being afraid of any judgment. And with this I would end this forecast. And I really hope that we can all do our work. We can all do our small, tiny steps in order to feel whole. And that's how we create the big network of wholeness. Through falling apart and coming back together, breathing, exhale, inhale, fall apart, come back together. Individuality and wholeness, it's all within us. So let's all be eclipsed and fear not. See you in 2 weeks. Love you all. Bye-bye.